Yes, we do actually.
Welcome, everyone, NeoTokyo, to another AMA featuring this time the Vampire Syndicate. Thank you for coming, guys.
Having us for sure.
So, why don't you tell some citizens about your project that maybe haven't heard of it before?
Okay, so I'm just gonna go through like a brief rundown of kind of what SVS is and kind of give as much detail as I can without going too long. So that sounds fine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we've been friends for quite a while. So us and the co-founders, some of them that couldn't make it here, right? So me, Topkek, Freddie, Wolf, Ryan, and we've been in the crypto scene for quite a while right now. If I'm not mistaken, it's been close to a decade, half a decade to a decade, and we've been active participants in NFTs for quite a while. So we thought, it'd be pretty cool if there was something that we keep seeing NFTs on the come up, and then so many communities are being built. So we thought, it would be cool if we could do something similar. So we went back and forth, and then we got introduced to Mig, who is actually the former artist of the Bored Apes Yacht Club. So we got to know each other. We spoke a bit back and forth, and then we decided that what would be really cool is if we could come up with our own project, right? So obviously, we know that at that point in time, because this is 5-6 months ago at its inception, longer actually, there are a lot of projects with animals, and things like that. So apes, cats, dogs. So we thought it would be cool if we did something that is like a little bit different, just like you guys, right? The citizens, you guys aren't the like conventional take of an NFT project, right? So we thought what would be cool is if we would use vampires, right? Because this is huge pop culture icon. It's not something that we had actually been done before at the time. So we thought this would be pretty fun. So we went ahead with that and we put it out there, and it was it was a huge success. It was it was super popular, and from there it just took off really. So we were one of the few, maybe just a brief introduction. We were one of the first few projects which really kind of made full use of a non-gas wall launch. We had an anti-bot system on our launch as well, and our mint, and um, we had a max of 3 mints per wallet at the time. So, and ever since then, we have been building continuously, since our launch, and it's been a pretty amazing journey so far. It's been pretty cool process, especially like we've been able to meet so many other NFT projects and other companies in the real world traditional sense as well, where we collab with a bunch of people just like you guys. So it's been a pretty special journey. So in the crypto sense, we, from the beginning, after our mint, we had our companion mint where we had bats. Obviously, every vampire should have a bat. And then we partnered with 888 and the Inner Circle, and we worked with him for for a special NFT for both sets of holders, where if people hit the highest tier, they would get an honorary from our artist Mig. And then, well, most recently, what we did was, I'm not sure if you guys saw, but we actually partnered with Paramount Pictures
Mm-hmm.
for the movie Scream. So I think T can go a little bit more on that one.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Glad to be here today. But like 2D mentioned, we've been pushing things, doing things differently on the digital side with, the arts, with development, just with how we handle everything. But a big thing for us was also, pushing the envelope for what we're seeing in the real world. And this really, what it entails is, like 2D just mentioned, these brand collaborations. So our first, I guess, official one that actually occurred was, the Scream collaboration with Paramount Pictures. And it was the first time an NFT project has ever collaborated with a feature film. It didn't really, in a sense, I guess it really what it entailed in terms of value for the brand was really validation and just showing our potential for what we can do in the future. And similar to Scream, we also have other collaborations lined up with skate brands for streetwear and a few other that are down the pipeline, which we really can't speak on. But just really pushing the envelope and building out these organic relationships. Because so far, pretty much everything we've done has always sort of been organic, and mutually benefiting, both parties, and it's really helped. And I guess a big thing for on the marketing end for us is shaking hands with these big, established Web2 brands to bring value to SVS, but also, bring value to them and really just, overall just push the envelope for what we're seeing in the space.
I think that the fact you managed to get Paramount Pictures is quite something in itself.
Story
Yeah,
in itself was pretty interesting, you know. So the guy that we worked with to put in touch is actually I don't think we should say his name, but he's pretty high up, you know, official at Paramount Pictures, right? And he actually was a VAMP holder from day one, so he actually minted the project with us. And then when we, you know, when we spoke, you know, it was insane. You know, he was like, "I've been with you guys from the start. You know, it would be so cool if we could do this." And then we went back and forth from there. So that's one of the big things that we worked with from the start. Another one, because a lot of these things, when I know this personally, right, and same with us, when we work with more traditional projects and companies in this sense, right, things take a lot of like a slower rollout, you know, because we have to abide by a lot more, you know, they just work at a different speed, and we have a lot more, you know, we have a lot more kind of restrictions we need to work with. So one of the things that we did do is we partnered with this champagne connoisseur. His name is Shami Shin. He's the creator of the Good Diamant champagne. Pardon me if I butchered the name. But yeah, essentially it's the million pound champagne for a bottle of champagne, world's most expensive champagne. So what we did do is we partnered with them to have our own SVS champagne. So that's actually finally going to be rolled out pretty soon. We expect delivery to begin in, you know, hopefully sometime in February. So, and that's going to be cool. So we have custom, you know, SVS champagne bottle, the custom SVS casing, the box. So, you know, it's cool to see all that stuff being, you know, put to fruition and, you know, come to light alongside the stuff like we did with, you know, Scream movie was definitely very, very cool. So that's something that we're pretty proud of. We feel like, as far as we know, we're one of the first NFT projects to work with, you know, such a large scale name in that sense in that part of the film industry. So it's pretty cool to see that, you know, just how much that, you know, NFT project can really bridge the gap between our space and the traditional space.
How did you guys initially get involved in the Web3 space?
We've been friends for quite a while, right? Just been in crypto here and there, and then, you know, we have pretty extensive crypto background, all of us individually, and, you know, we just have been, you know, hanging out in the crypto space. And one day we thought, you know, as we saw NFTs progress, you know, like I'm not sure, maybe for some of you guys listening, how long you guys have been in crypto or yourself, Nihil, just in the sense that it's NFTs especially has taken a huge leap in the last maybe 2 years, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, as we've seen from us being in crypto initially, just to see that opportunity was pretty good, especially with Web3 and, you know, Ethereum initially, where, you know, all the NFT action was happening.
I think it's great that you guys try to create something out of a initial friendship into like a massive brand. Did you guys really expect this when you started this?
Not at all. We just thought that would be pretty cool if we could do something together that, you know, obviously there's always a chance that it might be big, but it was just completely off tangent that, you know, like, wow, these other people are making projects, you know, maybe it would be cool if we could do something too, right? So definitely at the start there was no expectation. I mean, weren't even sure if we would sell out, right? Obviously, that's the first step for most NFT projects, right? You have to mint out for things to progress anyway. So definitely, we didn't expect it to move at such pace. So we did, you know, we did kind of try to reward people as much as we could, because we definitely exceeded expectations. So, you know, one of the other things we did initially was that we took a snapshot of everyone who owned a Vamp, and within the first 30 days, they were able to claim a piece of free merch from us. So, outdid expectations. We donated to charity at the start as well. We did 45 Ethereum donation to charities, and a whole this consensus, right? It started as us just wanting to build something cool that we feel like we could bond with people around. Like it's a community, it's a tight knit community. So that's why, like from the very beginning, we had AMAs, and we would pull vamps up from the lair, every week and just speak to them. So it has been humbling experience to say the least, and it's been really fun for sure.
I think I want to speak for everyone and say congratulations for getting a Paramount Pictures collaboration for one, and two for going into the Web3 space, creating a project that you guys put. It sounds like you really put a lot of work into this, and look, your efforts are really flourishing. So congrats.
So much, yeah. It's a constant workflow. I'm sure people know that that's just how it is uh, in the NFT space. So it's cool. Thank you so much for the kind words, though. Yeah, it's just been constantly. It does obviously get. I'm sure you guys understand as well that it does get a bit challenging sometimes, right? Just like because you have to keep the ball rolling, right?
Yeah.
So one thing, crypto moves at such an insane pace compared to just how things work in the traditional business world, right? Because essentially each NFT project should be treated as a brand and a business, right? To an extent, it's a community, but your business is to grow your brand and your community, so everyone flourishes and benefits from that work, right? So it's definitely pretty crazy to see how fast the space can move, and to try and keep up with it. It can be a lot sometimes, but just got to keep on top of it and keep building. So for us with Paramount Pictures, some people might have, some people did say on their end, right, like on Paramount Pictures and some of the more traditional people and fans, didn't receive it so well. I'm sure you guys know NFTs aren't received maybe in the most optimal light sometimes when we look at it in the more like normal sense, right? So, but what some people don't realize is, even from our holder perspective, what some people don't realize is that it slays such a big stepping stone, right? Like for you as a project, when you are able to partner and mix with these people, in that sense, these companies, these brands, it lays a huge foundation and stepping stone for what you can build going forward, right? Because it adds a lot of recognition and name brand to your project and what you do. So everything just brick by brick, eventually things will take their place for sure.
Yes, I think that the bridging between the Web 2 and Web 3 space is going to be very important in the coming months.
Yeah, because there's such a huge target market, right? Sorry, T, just let you go in a second. Yeah, because there's such a huge target market there, right? Like in the traditional sense, like even when we see how fast some things can, move in Web3 space, crypto space, NFT space. We'll just go with Web3 in general, right? And you compare it, like even if something has exploded in value in the last 1 year, when you compare it to the counterpart in um, the traditional sense, it's still so much untapped potential, right? And how much like market share there is that crypto really hasn't even taken yet. So yeah, T, I think that's it for me.
Yeah, and I think just touching on that, like, this whole Web3/Web2 like brand collaboration, I think a big thing that a lot of people don't realize is, it's pretty for us specifically, it's pretty, I guess, almost mind-boggling to be able to shake hands with these brands that have been established for years and years in the traditional, world. And I think what we don't realize is that, NFT projects specifically, people like ourselves and other projects that, released during a good time and were able to really build that brand, we have more of a market share than someone like, let's just use Amex as an example, right? So it's quite easy for, Web3 brands to, I guess, shake hands with the Web2 brands that are wanting to enter the space because we're already established. And we realized that quite early on, and we've really just been, I guess, pursuing that for a while now. and just growing, just building, growing, and building connections. Really, and it's really been a big thing, specifically behind the scenes. Honestly, we're not for us the whole like I guess the conflict has always been being able to tell our community when we're going to do these things. Because when you start, planning these things out, we can't, just with NDAs and just things how everybody operates, we can't just straight up blurt it out like, "Hey guys, we got to collab with, so and so coming up." It has to be more so closer to the date and planned. So our community does get a little bit anxious at times, but it's at the end everybody loves them. So it's amazing.
Well, I think it's great that you guys care for your community, and I think that there's great things in the future for you.
Thank you. Yeah, community's
So
definitely.
much. Yeah, we feel pretty similarly about you guys. It's crazy to see how big NeoTokyo is and the kind of recognition and support you guys get. I woke up this morning and I actually saw Facebanks posting about you guys this morning as well, right? So it's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, we were also pretty excited when we saw FaZe come in here, and people were kind of geeking out.
Oh, he came in the Discord as well.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I saw him make some posts and it was good. It's always positive sentiment when he does that organically for any other project.
I'll just speak one more thing before we get into the main topic. When you guys were starting, can you talk about like the initial growing pains that you guys had to and the things you had to learn really quickly?
You mean just in general with
Yeah,
with SVS, right? Project wise, right? Yeah. So definitely, scaling is one thing, right? So it's a lot of work to do between 5 to 6 people initially, because initially it was just a handful of us that we did everything from scratch. Almost no mods, nothing like that. So, and for us, the trajectory of growth was, you know, uh, we just posted it out on Twitter, and then we had, I think, within the first hour we had about 800 people in the Discord, and then within the first week we had about 15K, and then by midday, which was 3 weeks later, we were at 47K, I think. So, and this was about six months ago, which is quite a while, right? So definitely, scaling in that sense and keeping on top of everything was very difficult. But on top of that, I'm not sure about you guys, but one thing that we do see is that, as much, so one of the main goals with many NFT projects, I feel, or especially us, was that we want to bridge the gap between, the traditional world. Web 2 and Web 3 is an easy way of saying it, right? So that in itself can bring a lot of problems sometimes when it comes with a project, especially with marketing. So, in the sense that, is that really the target market that you want to push to, and will it really yield a lot of returns back for your holders, right? Because I think sometimes some people don't really realize is that, some stuff may not immediately benefit the holders of the project, but they do lay a solid foundation and stepping stone for the project as a whole, that it'll benefit everyone later on, right? So Sam, like, T is one of the main guys in charge of our marketing side, so he can expand a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I mean, it's really a challenge, I guess, was we figured it out pretty early. But it was that, this since this Web3 space is so new, the traditional, tactics for Web2 really didn't apply in a lot of cases. So things, such as billboards and, IRL marketing, it doesn't really translate too well. I know we had that, craze around NFT NYC where it was almost like a standard that, oh, you have to have a billboard, right? Almost like every project at the time did. And it when if you look at it, it doesn't really bring any returns. It's the billboard. It's you're targeting the Web 2 audience, the people who aren't ready to buy NFTs yet, because like it's like a broken record, but everybody says it. We're early in this space. So we're in fact we're so early that these marketing tactics like billboards and just IRL stuff, it isn't really, I guess, too pulling of the outside audiences. So we really learned to pivot a lot of our stuff digitally as well, and more so see our collaborations. Whereas I mean, for instance, it's a little bit different with our collaborations because we've been able to sort of, I guess, leverage those to build credibility for the brand. and also cool utility for our holders. But things such as buying billboards, or we've even gotten outlandish stuff like doing projections on buildings in Toronto, or sending a vamp to space. Those things simply they don't do anything for the project, if we're being honest.
Yeah, I think that traditional Web 2 advertisements probably won't work as well as in the Web 3 space, and I think that Web 3 advertisements can only really be done in the Web 3 space.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. It just kind of exists within its own circle to an extent, right? But I do think what some Web2 companies, and especially with marketing stuff, is they kind of see this as a chance for them to try and, penetrate a market or gain some sort of, it's a, or gain a lot of market share or monetary gain from it, right? Like I'm sure you guys know, when people charge crypto companies more than they would a normal company because they think that it is, everyone's making so much money, blah, 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 as well as they're like, they think, oh, this will be great for you, because we got approached for a few things, like T mentioned, huge billboard in Canada, right, T? Vancouver, I
Yeah,
think.
it was a huge projection on a building.
Projection billboard, and it's like, well, I can't disclose the price point now publicly, but for that price that they were asking, it's like, in what sense are you able to recover something like that back from someone seeing a photo of a vampire, which would be amazing, right? Obviously, but it doesn't really work because it doesn't explain what anything really is, Yeah.
It's like putting out the Batman symbol, but no one who knows who Batman is yet.
Exactly.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, exactly. Batman, doesn't need sales, right? Batman doesn't need people joining in, right? Batman wants less, where NFC projects want more in return from it. So
Great. So why don't we go into the main grit right now? So let's speak about your 2.0 for SVS.
yes, the Vampirus Gen 2.
So tell me how it got started and what are your plans for it?
Okay, so when we initially launched SVS, we had an initial roadmap, which we put Gen 2 at the end. The Vampirus. We put Gen 2 at the end of the roadmap, right? As in accomplishment. If we hit 100% sellout, we would tease Gen 2, yada yada. So we accomplished the first roadmap pretty quick, and it's essentially female vampires, right? So the normal process for us was, it was going to be Gen 1, which would be the male vampires, and then it would be the companions, free companions, by the way, free mint. People would just pay gas. You hold one vamp, you get one bat, and then essentially, as we go later on down the line, we would have Gen 2. And after Gen 2 would come Gen 2's companions. So essentially, Gen 2 is going to be, a simple way of saying it is female vampires. So, each vamp needs a mate, etc., etc. And then later on down the line, because each time that we add something, it has to come with utility, right? That's the most important part of our project, right? So when you stake a Gen 1 vampire or a Gen 1 companion, which is a bat, you get a blood token in return, right? So you get 3 blood a day if you stake per vamp, and you get 1 blood a day per bat. So I just had to cough. Yeah. So essentially, we are building everything around the token, right? We're building everything around the blood token. So just some use cases right now for blood is that blood will make you eligible to be able to purchase our limited edition champagne. You can use blood to mint. We have pixel vamps coming out soon. We also have 3D vamps coming out soon, and we have whitelist spots and raffles, which all use blood, right? Essentially. So I'll actually, the funny story, because you were talking about Scream collab and Paramount pictures, right? So actually, the Scream collab was the birth of the blood raffles and blood auctions. So what we did was, we had a couple of prizes which we worked with Scream personally on, which were agreeable by both parties, and then people could bid on them bid on some of them, and then people could also join a raffle for them, right? So we actually we did a polygon bridge as well. So all the blood, all the blood stuff is pretty much no gas, essentially very very cheap, right? In a more literal sense, and then with the raffles. It's all used blood, so people have to stake and get utility, right? So what was the main thing with Scream was SVS holders that joined the raffle with blood were able to attend a premiere screening around multiple states around multiple places in America. Some places got cut because of COVID restrictions and stuff like that, but they were also able to win like one-of-one prints with our collab. But the movie premiere stuff was definitely very cool. So quite a lot of members of our community enjoyed that. Pretty cool to see actual like utility. You buy your vamp, you stake your vamp, and you get to attend something in real life, something a bit special. So definitely it was it's pretty nice. So Gen 2 and the female vampires will be a little bit different in how they can't be staked and they can't earn blood from staking, but they will be brought into the universe, and we have yet to announce actually. So maybe some of you guys can stay tuned. We will announce how they will be used with everything else. So obviously, I know I'm going a little bit long here because it is quite deep. So I hope you don't mind. So essentially, if you buy a Gen 1 now, you get a Gen 2 whitelist spot. You can get access to pixel vamps, 3D models, and stuff like that, right? And essentially, what comes down later down the line is that what we call a blood pact, right? It's essentially breeding, right? So you can breed between Gen 1, a male and female vampire, and we haven't announced yet what is actually going to be the product, but yeah, it's one of the main purposes, right? So, that's where rarity starts getting taken into account, and then you can actually use your bat, the companion. You can add bat into the blood pack pool if you want to take some of the traits from the bat, So stuff like that is definitely pretty cool, something we're super excited about. And we keep adding stuff and keep building around the blood token, right? So right now, what people are super excited about, so how every project has whitelist spots from other projects these days, right? So essentially what we do is we have blood raffles, so people are able to enter a raffle for the whitelist spots using blood. So especially if it's a very high project, then what we do is when we get the blood back, we burn a percentage of it because that's what the community wants it. So yeah, day by day, week by week, we keep adding more and more to the blood utility, and that's essentially what our whole aim is, just build a whole universe around SVS and the blood token.
Yeah, and it's really, I mean, just another common theme has just been, on the development front. A big thing for us has always been, we don't want to cut ourselves short there. And it really helps to have, a dedicated development team, with us to do these things like, staking. We launched fairly early our token, as well as the like this blood raffle system, right? There's also auctions, Dutch auctions, and there's just a whole lot we're going to build out. And then even like 2D touched on the Polygon blood bridge. Essentially, you can bridge over your Ethereum blood to Polygon blood, and all the gas, like the Polygon fees, are handled on our end. So you really just bridge over and you're set to go. So yeah, and I mean we've even extended our development services to our to the holders, and we accept our dev team accepts blood as well for smart contracts, audits, pretty much anything really. So we're the development end has been another really big push for us as well.
Oh, sounds like you guys have a lot in the pipeline.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot. Sometimes it's even hard to keep track of.
Did you ever think of when you said you have to stake your vampire to get blood, right?
Yes, or a bat. Correct. Companion.
I think you guys should have came up with a different word.
Oh, yeah, it kind of doesn't. Yeah, it's kind of going against the principle of a vampire, isn't it? Stake the vamp. Yeah.
It's just a joke.
We just like to think they go to sleep in coffins. That's it.
Yeah, we call it the graveyard.
I mean, it sounds like you're trying to create an entire world based around your brand, right?
Essentially,
Yeah,
that's it. And we try to interact with as many. So essentially, whenever we partner and collab with anyone else, we always try to include blood, right? So that's actually like the main thing. Um, yeah. So like an example would be So something like this, an example would be like, Sandbox and other metaverse games. What we're trying to do is to be able to use blood to get certain, um, either discounts or maybe access to certain things in those games as well. So that's essentially what we are trying to do. So it's been a pretty fast process. I'm not sure how many of you guys follow everything, with other NFT projects and us as well. We officially partner with Sandbox pretty much as soon as we minted out. We bought land with them. We have the lair being built. So the lair is essentially, we have a 3x3 estate in Sandbox. And essentially, what we're doing is we're building a quote unquote the lair, which is something that it's pretty much a place for all SVS holders can come and hang out in the metaverse. Come and hang out. We're going to make it interactive as soon as it is possible, so people can actually come, hang out, and interact with the lair and do stuff like that. And we're just always happy to talk to people. Partner with more projects. It's funny you mentioned the staking joke, right? We actually partnered and got listed. We partnered with Coinbase yesterday when they announced this as we were going on their platform, and in their announcement tweet, they used the staking joke as well. So it is a popular theme.
Well, congrats getting on Coinbase for once. I mean, like that's a great achievement right there.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we've been talking to them since October actually, and we've been holding it in. Everyone's been asking, when Coinbase. So got to hold it in. We can't say anything like that, right? Especially because we do AMAs every week, Discord, right, and Spaces. So this question comes up all the time. So it's something that as much as we wanted to say anything, we can't leak anything out like that, and just
It must be really hard.
yeah, it is tough, especially when some people are pushing towards it, right? So each and every week we talk to a community, and that when something as big as that and you can't say it like that, it's definitely hard to keep it in. But when the news broke, it was it was crazy. It's just to see how excited everyone was, and stuff like that. It's pretty insane. But they were a pleasure to work with. Coinbase, definitely. So it's been a positive process, and I think it'll be good for the whole scene when their platform does launch, onboarding everyone into the Web3 space like that.
Well, based off your blood token, it seems you've been very careful to ensure the release has been a utility token, and you've added so many ways. You've talked about staking, you've talked about auctions, you talked about raffles. So can you talk about when you made the blood token? Can you talk about a bit more of the tokenomics and the inflationary or deflationary measures that you might have to implement down the road?
Yeah, so essentially with the blood token, when we did it initially, we made it very, very clear that it was purely a utility token, right? Because I'm sure that most people who have experience with NFT space know that you have to be quite careful with any token that is attached to a project, right?
Yep.
So we made it very, very clear. We checked with OpenSea staff back and forth, just made it very clear this was purely a utility token. If there is value added to it and there's exceeded to it, blah blah blah, it's mostly just the community people who are doing it, right? It's not from us like that. We can't comment on that or endorse stuff like that. So for us on the tokenomics side of things, so how I mentioned that people use their blood for raffles and whitelists and things like that.
Yep.
So every time that we do get blood back from those, we do burn it. So to make it deflationary and add value to the blood token.
That's very smart. It'll make sure that your community knows that you care about the blood token, and you care about the fact that these people have asked you to burn it because they don't want it to go out of control.
Yeah, and they don't want you never know. They don't want it to be to for us to like dump it or sell it stuff like that. So it's good that we get feedback every week on people, in our community, whether they, what they think about what our plans are. Obviously, we can't share everything. Some things have to be kept as a surprise. But yeah, burning it, I think, was the best way to kind of make everyone happy on both sides. So, it increases the value of their blood, and then on our sense, the team isn't storing any absurd amounts of blood tokens.
Right. So I'm getting some questions about the. They're talking about how do you do the staking, and they're shadow PFPs.
So this one, basically you can stake through our dashboard. We will be getting a website revamp soon. And then we actually, what we did is we distributed ghost copies of the VAMPs which you have staked on Polygon. I think T can go into a little bit more detail on this, T.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can stake through, we have a very simple dashboard system, a very good one set up, which, like 2D mentioned, we've been working on, bringing up the new one and all. Um, so once you stake your vamp, vampires get 3 blood a day, whereas the bats get 1. Um, And so what happens is when you do stake, you end up getting a ghost copy, like you mentioned, the shadow copy, right? It's a ghost copy pretty much, sent on the Polygon chain. Once you unstake, that it goes away and so on. And it's also a good indication to show, the SVS ghost collection. You can actually go and just see how many vamps, uh, are staked. So it's a good way because there's what we ended up seeing in our community was a lot of people were like complaining or whatever that they didn't have a vamp in their wallet. And it was it was very difficult for them, not difficult, quote unquote, but they would prefer to have some sort of visual indication of owning a vamp still. Since it's when it's up in the staking contract, you can't necessarily see it in the wallet. So that's what really the ghost copies fixed. And right now there's about close to 6,000 out of the 808 or 8,888 staked. We have a very high percentage staked, and very little on the market. I think last I checked, there were like 500 vamps for sale, out
Yeah,
of the almost 9,000.
yeah, it's essentially 75% or so are staked. Under 600 are for sale. So it's pretty limited supply. People do like to keep their RAM staked, get the blood token, and make use out of it. So, everything goes back into the same ecosystem as we continue building the said ecosystem, and we keep going on from there.
So when you're talking about your vampirus, the vampires, the bats, you're just missing one thing:
Yes.
vampire hunters.
Well, this is something that we have spoken about before. It's and it is something that we do. Maybe it is possible to work into down the line. So unfortunately, the vampire pop culture era is pretty predictable in what follows that universe as well. So it's not hard to see what can be done going forward, right? So definitely that's something that we want to work with. So what I can say with the blood pact and breeding that will come later on is that most people think that it would just be like vampire babies or something like that, but it's going to be pretty different and pretty unique, and it's going to be pretty exciting when we can announce how that's going to work later on.
Well, I think you guys got the perfect theme all ready to go, and I can't wait to see what you guys do more with your community and your world and your partnerships, and everything looks great for you guys.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's pretty nice. Essentially, how we work back and forth is we just give our artist Mick creative freedom. He just gets full creative freedom in how he wants to do them. He shows us a few sketches, a few drafts back and forth. and then we just give he's pretty amazing, pretty talented artist, so there's not much feedback that we really have to give him, but usually it's just he gets full creative freedom. We just make tiny comments, a little bit here and there of what we think maybe would look better. But something interesting is that traits, we decide on the traits as a whole, as a team. So it is a pretty cool process to work with such a talented artist. At the end of the day, it is pretty amazing to work with someone who worked in such big name projects, right? He did 70% of the Bored Ape traits. He worked as a core member of the Bored Ape artist team. So to be able to work with someone like that and carry that experience over has been a pleasure. And as for essentially, we're just, all it comes down to is that we're just a group of friends who got together and thought that it would be cool to build something, and to go through the experiences that we went through over the last 5 or 6 or 7 months has been pretty special, right? You meet tons of people just like you guys, being all in this this space together, this AMA, it's all an experience, right? So even though we come from, even though we're all just friends, we all come from, business backgrounds. We've worked in different fields and different parts of our own worlds, and it's pretty special to be able to come and create something so cool and meet so many like-minded people in the space.
I think I think it's great that the Web3 space has really enabled people, even for people like me who don't really have a lot of Web3 experience, to come in and build something that I want to, and then people will pay me because I want to build this. And I think that a lot of people in here also appreciate the Web3 space for enabling NeoTokyo and your community and a lot of other communities, and people kind of feel like they're home, if you know what I mean.
Sure. It's pretty special feeling, right? That you can just come online and you're home with everyone here, and people don't really understand sometimes, right? But the Web3 space, I feel like it's all just bounded by communities, right? Essentially. Yeah, that's all it is. It's just communities and subgroups but everyone is also trying to help each other progress at the same time, even though they're part of separate communities, So I do think it's a special space and something that a lot of the normal world hasn't really seen yet. So, it definitely has a strong presence to push forward with.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see the continuation of this with new communities that pop up over time, and maybe we'll see some extra things over time. But I think that the Web3 space is in a good shape right now.
Yeah, for sure. And the space, I mean, the pace that it is progressing at is pretty insane, I will say. Things happen so fast in crypto, right? Like, and NFTs especially, I'm not sure, I mean, especially in the recent last few weeks, you can see something pop up on Twitter, and within 3 days, it'll have 10,000 followers and a Discord with 20-30,000 people, and whitelist almost half sold out. So it's crazy how many people are, because I think all it really means is that there's just so many people paying attention to what we're doing, and so many people who are ready and excited by seeing other people's either success or creativity in the space and want to be a part of it on their own, right? That's all it really is. And then they're excited to have that experience for themselves going forward.
For sure. From a person who's one of the main founders of this project, what can you tell me about your experience during the project? Like, in the long term, what do you see for it?
I see, from an SVS perspective, I only see the project continuing to grow and continuing to bridge the gap between the Web 2 and the Web 3 world. Because essentially, we laid out our ethos and our aim very early on, and we just continue to work on it every day, every week. All of us at the SVS core team are all full time. We have some full time staff as well. We have stuff coming as well. With especially with mentioning the traditional world. So we have a lot of stuff coming. As I mentioned before, we currently have merch, right? So we have our own SVS branded merch, which we see quite a lot of people, actually quite a lot of our holders wear it around, which is pretty nice. So, I've even seen some people in my city wear it, which is pretty hilarious sometimes. It's crazy how small the world can be. But essentially, we also have so with merch, it's also that in itself is evolving, right? So what we're working on actually is merch is something that you can collab with people on as well. So we actually have a collab with an established clothing / skating brand as well. We've mentioned in our AMAs a couple of times that we have merch collab with an established brand coming soon. The collab has been confirmed pretty much between us and the brand. We have just yet to announce it because we are going through the details, details of what's coming and the designs and stuff like that. So going forward, just on a sense that everyone at the team here is devoted to this full time. We work on this every day. We're on Discord with each other every day, doing spaces, doing AMAs, just working on things going forward, and we're trying to just build our brand and build our community so that everyone can benefit as a whole for being a part of SVS.
That sounds wonderful. We know what I can already guess probably what your dream collaboration is, but do you have a dream collaboration
Do you mean in
for for SVS?
Yeah, like would you mean? Does it matter whether it's a crypto project
No, it doesn't
or?
matter if it's crypto or anything. Do you have a collaboration that you would love to have?
Personally, I would love to collab with major brand, right? Like I think it would be pretty cool to be able to do something with any of the um, core brands that maybe like something like Nike or how I know Nike has CloneX. I think they bought over CloneX. Adidas did with Bored Apes, but I do think one of those real like sport brands, because I feel like that has a huge target market, and it really only benefits people who are involved, right? Like it's a huge benefit to your project if you have such a wide audience, wide reach. And I think I do like Nike or Nike, depending which part of the world you're in, because I think their marketing is great, especially in the sports sense. They make the best ads, pretty much, make great content and stuff like that. But I think T is more on the marketing side, so he has more words to say on this.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess for me personally, it isn't more so a specific brand, but it's more so taking the models of existing brands and how they operate. Like for instance, let's look at Supreme or Kith. How they have weekly collaborations almost with all these other brands, and they make cool products. I essentially that's where I would like FBS to be, to where we have all these connections and just this constant flow of I guess items and good items as a matter of fact, not just lazy slap on stuff. But that's really it. I mean, we just want to really just build out the brand and just expand and and provide value to the holders really. So yeah, I
Yeah,
guess it's more
because
so that model.
especially real life brands that work on more of the internet space and Web3 space would be pretty cool. So, something like Face Clan, these kind of gaming stuff is pretty cool. Would be able to work with brands like that because they pretty much exist in our environment, right? Face Clan. If we talk about crypto projects, I think working with a project like Bored Apes would be pretty cool, especially because Mig was an artist there as well. So definitely there is natural history and synergy there as well. So yeah, stuff like that. And I'm big fan, even like, you guys, NeoTokyo, I love what you guys are doing and building. It's definitely not a conventional way of doing it, right? Which I think is super interesting. So yeah, it's pretty nice to see how much is truly possible in this space.
I I totally agree. The fact that you guys created your community from a friendship into a what is looking to be a major brand in the coming months, and even now, like, I think it's amazing what you guys have done, and I can't wait to see what you guys do next.
Thank you so much for your time and your kind words.
I'm just gonna get to some other extra questions before we let you guys go, because I do know you guys do have another AMA with your own community in that
Yes.
10 minutes.
Yeah, correct.
I had something to add, Neil. To be honest, you mentioned it's a brand, it's a business, but at the end of the day, it's still a group of friends.
Yes.
That has not changed. I joined the team like 2 months after the release. I've had good connections with Top Tech and a few of the other team members, and through the SVS project, I've met everyone and sort of learned how they operate and really gained a lot from them in terms of knowledge as well. And it is truly it's beautiful to see. It's a group of friends. It's not a business. It's not a cash cow. It's a group of friends.
Well, I think it's great that you guys have done this, and the fact that you come into our city and let us know about your brand, your community, and your vision. I think that you've taken the time to do this. Is We really appreciate it.
And yeah,
Likewise.
for sure, anytime. Personally, we just love doing these spaces, these AMAs. If there's any time that you guys want us to have us back on tour spaces, AMAs, more than happy to participate.
We would love to have you back, or at any time in the future, or a Twitter space, or whatever you guys want to do.
Yeah, just
Sure.
some alpha for the NeoTokyo squad. Today we just posted our a video sort of teasing SVS Bloodline, which it's going to be sort of like a similar fashion segment to what we're doing today, and we would also love to have you guys on sometime as well.
Great. I got one last question before I let you go. So your team, it's going to be hard probably this year because you're expanding, you're scaling, and so what do you think the biggest challenge or risk is going to be this year, and how do you think you guys are going to approach it?
Well, I guess for us personally, the COVID restrictions is actually a pretty big challenge, right? Because one of the things that we've been trying to do for quite some time now was events, like a proper kind of event that we could organize to like adhere to as many SVS members as possible. So that one is difficult because we know that these things are super cool, right? Because what people don't realize is like, yeah, okay, I can tell you now, right? I can tell you right now, like Nihil, like, okay, it's cool if we have a real life event, blah blah blah. But essentially, this in itself is adding utility to your projects, right?
Hmm.
Because your NFT is essentially like a gateway pass to be able to attend these private events and communities, right? So we feel like that is a pretty big part of maybe something that we could build around, because actually what we have done, uh, our devs have actually been worked on and built a QR system, um, which is something that if possible, we want to use with SVS later on. So people can, you get tickets to certain events through us, and then in return, if you can't attend the event because maybe let's say there's a geographical, liability or not possible, then you could also like sell those tickets or rent out those passes to people who may not be a holder, but they are able to purchase it through you being a holder, not being able to attend the event, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
So essentially, one of the other partners that we have partnered with is Paradigm Sports as well, which is a big sports organization, and essentially this is gonna play enroll with them later on as we go on. They, for example, for some of you guys that may not be so familiar, they manage fighters like Conor McGregor, Israel Adesanya, and stuff like that. So essentially for us, one thing that might be a bit tough is keeping up the pace and just continuing to partner with as many big brands in and out of the crypto space as possible, but just continuing to push and keep it going. That's all it really is.
Do you think anything to add, T?
Oh, sorry, I was muted. Yeah, I think during this time, we have projects coming up left and right. There's so many of them. It's coming at such a big scale, and really, I guess a challenge that we're seeing, which we're dealing with, and I'm sure a lot of other projects are as well. But just fighting for relevance, right? You want to stay relevant, especially when there's all these projects coming out. You want to blur the noise. And really, our approach, I mean, as you can tell, has been really just building our credibility and just doing things different, and giving people a reason to come to SVS. Because at the end of the day, we could just do what every other project is doing, copy the roadmap. But what's the fun in that? What's the value in that? So really, our approach has always been sort of like a no BS approach to everything, and just providing value, pushing things, doing things different. And really, it's sort of just worked and helped us stay relevant throughout the times.
Amazing. Thank you for coming. I just want you guys to take a look at the guest AMA. Just click it, and I want to show you the army of people watching you right now.
Wow, it's
Almost 400 people. That's insane. Thank you guys so much for tuning in.
And
Thank
I
you
think
so
we're
much.
gonna end it up. We're gonna end it there, guys. Thank you for T and 2D Vamp and Top Keck for listening. You're traveling right now, but I love to speak to you at one time. And yeah, that'll be it. Thank you very much, and we'll see you again sometime soon.
Thank you guys, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll speak again soon for sure. Thank you so
Great.
much, Nahal.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.